4 straight world championships, 4 constructors' titles, a record no team in Formula One had ever built before. And yet, one of those drivers would later admit he no longer trusted the team that gave him a winning car. Inside that garage, something was breaking. Not the car. Adrian Newey made sure of that. Not the results. The trophies kept arriving on schedule. What was breaking was the one belief that had made Red Bull different from every other team on the grid. The belief that 2 drivers, given the same car, the same engineers, the same chance, could win together. Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, the veteran and the prodigy. Experience and talent. On paper, the perfect pairing. But every season, the space between them grew wider. Every race, the trust grew thinner. Every radio message, sharper. The 2 words that would define everything had not been spoken yet. They became one of Formula One's greatest teammates. They also became one of its greatest rivalries. And they built it themselves. Sepang, Malaysia, the 24th of March, 2013. The second race of the season. Lap 46. Mark Webber is leading. Sebastian Vettel is chasing him. The team radio breaks the silence with a coded message. It is an order. Hold position. Do not fight. Vettel does not respond. He closes in. He attacks, wheel to wheel through the corners. Neither driver lifts. Neither driver gives ground. And on the straight, Vettel goes past his own teammate. His own teammate, in his own team, in his own car. Webber looks straight ahead. He does not say a word. The podium tells the rest of the story without sound. Webber stands apart from Vettel. He does not turn to look at him. When the trophies are handed over, the champagne feels ceremonial, not celebratory. 2 men who have just won first and second for the same team, and neither of them is smiling. This was the team that had won 2 consecutive world championships. This was the team built around Adrian Newey, around Christian Horner, around 2 drivers talented enough to win anywhere. So how did a garage like that arrive at this moment? The answer is not in Sepang. The answer is 4 years earlier. This is not where the story begins. This is where it finally shows itself. To understand what broke in Sepang, you have to understand what Red Bull believed they had built. In Formula One, the safe model has always been the same. 1 number 1 driver. 1 number 2 driver. Ferrari did it with Schumacher and Barrichello. McLaren did it with Hakkinen and Coulthard. The number 2 supports. The number 1 wins. Nobody argues. Red Bull did not choose that model. They believed they had 3 things the bigger teams had forgotten. They had Adrian Newey, the most brilliant aerodynamic mind in the sport. He had left McLaren because the bigger teams no longer gave designers the freedom to build without compromise. Red Bull gave him that freedom. In return, he gave them a car that could win anywhere. They had Christian Horner, the youngest team principal in Formula One history when he took the job. He believed that if you treated 2 drivers like adults, they would find their own balance. And they had a belief that had almost disappeared from the paddock. The belief that fairness was something a team could build, not something a team had to abandon. This was the first team in years brave enough to try it. But fairness only exists before there is a trophy on the table. The idea only works if both drivers deserve to be number 1. Red Bull believed they had exactly that. Look at Mark Webber first. Born in Queanbeyan, Australia. His father was a mechanic. He came up through the hard way. Minardi at the back of the grid. Jaguar going nowhere. 8 years in Formula One without a car that could actually win. He was 33 years old when he took his first Grand Prix victory. 33. Most drivers by that age are thinking about retirement. Webber was just getting started. To him, a world championship was not a stepping stone. It was the reward for 20 years of waiting. Webber earned everything. Now look at Sebastian Vettel. Born in Heppenheim, Germany. Discovered by Helmut Marko as a teenager. Placed inside the Red Bull Junior program when most kids his age were still in school. Given Toro Rosso as a stepping stone. And at 21 years old, in the pouring rain at Monza, he won a Grand Prix for a backmarker team. To him, a world championship was not a reward. It was the next logical step. Vettel expected everything. Both of them had earned the right to believe. And that was exactly the problem. Being teammates was easy. Fighting for the same championship was not. Nobody remembers the moment a team stops trusting itself. There is never a single event. There is only a sequence. Turkey, 2010. Lap 40. Webber leading. Vettel closing. They are running 1 and 2 for the same team, in the same colors, chasing the same championship. On the back straight, Vettel pulls out to overtake. Their wheels touch. Vettel spins into the wall. His race is over. Webber limps home in third. Red Bull has just lost a certain victory to their own drivers. Inside the garage, nobody says anything out loud. But somebody has to be at fault. Neither driver is willing to be that somebody. The championship lead is still theirs. On paper, nothing to worry about. But inside the walls of Milton Keynes, a small question has been asked, for the first time. Who is the number one? Nobody answers. That silence is the first answer. Then comes Silverstone. Red Bull has a new front wing. Only one of the new specification is available. Vettel's brakes in practice. The team makes a choice. They take the new wing from Webber's car. They give it to Vettel. Webber races with the old specification, and Webber wins the race anyway. On the radio, cooling down on the slow-down lap, he says 9 words that the entire garage hears. Not bad for a number 2 driver, is it? That was not a complaint. That was a public statement. And they still didn't know that one radio code would define their careers. Inside a Formula One garage, nobody has to say who the number 1 is. The garage tells you. You watch which engineer runs faster to the car. You listen for which meeting lasts longer. You notice which telemetry gets shared first. You feel the pat on the shoulder from your team principal. And you measure how long it lingers. By 2011, Webber was measuring. And by 2012, he already knew what the answer was. Look at Silverstone 1 year later. Same track, same team, same 2 drivers. But everything inside had shifted. The last lap of the race. Webber closing on Vettel. Fighting for the win. On the track where he had won the year before. The team radio comes through. Hold position. Do not fight. Webber ignores it. He pushes. Vettel holds him off by less than a second. Everybody remembers the result. Nobody remembers what it meant. At Silverstone 2010, Webber had raced with the old front wing and still beaten his teammate. At Silverstone 2011, Webber wanted to race his teammate on equal terms, and the team asked him not to. Same track, same garage, but the balance of power had already moved. By the end of 2012, Vettel had lifted 3 consecutive world championships. Webber had finished 6th in the standings. The gap between them was no longer a number. It was a decision the garage had already made. The order hadn't come yet, but the logic behind it already existed. Now we go back to Sepang. Lap 46. The same lap you already saw. But this time, you know what you are watching. The team radio breaks the silence. Multi-21, Seb. Multi-21. 2 words. That is the code Red Bull uses to tell their drivers who finishes where. Car number 2, ahead of car number 1. Vettel is car number 1. Webber is car number 2. Webber is meant to finish in front. Vettel is meant to hold station. Vettel does not respond. He closes in. He attacks. And on the radio, Christian Horner's voice comes through, calm but firm. Seb, this is silly. Vettel does not lift. Wheel to wheel through the corners, into the straight and past. The same overtake you saw at the start of this video, but now you understand what really happened. Vettel was at the wheel, but the hands pushing him across that line were the hands of 4 years of quiet decisions. Turkey, Silverstone 2010, Silverstone 2011. Every longer meeting, every longer pat on the shoulder. The podium is silent. No music, only the crowd, far away. Webber stands apart from Vettel. He does not look at him. Down below, Adrian Newey is standing with his arms folded. Christian Horner is wearing a look he cannot fully control. This is not a mistake caught on camera. This is a truth the team had spent 4 years hiding, finally stepping in front of a microphone. Vettel goes to the press conference. He faces the cameras. He says 4 words. I made a mistake today. Listen to that sentence again with everything you now know. It is not an apology. It is the only sentence he could say when the system, not the driver, was the one who really crossed the line. Then Webber sits down. He is asked what happened. He gives an answer so short it lands like a verdict. Multi-21 is multi-21. No explanation, no forgiveness, no softening. Was this Red Bull losing control, or was this Formula One finally saying out loud what the team had spent 4 years pretending was not true? The race was over. The relationship was not. The season did not stop. Vettel kept winning. Race after race. Podium after podium. By the end of 2013, he had lifted his 4th consecutive world championship. On paper, the greatest year in the history of the team. Inside the garage, nobody celebrated that 4th title, the same way they had celebrated the 1st. Every champagne bottle was missing a person. Every group photograph had a pair of eyes that did not quite look at the camera. Every team hug had an empty space where somebody used to stand. Red Bull had won everything a Formula One team can win, and they had lost the one thing that made them different in the first place: the ability to call their 2 drivers a team. Webber had already made his decision. 2013 would be his last season. He would leave the sport. He would never race a Formula One car again. Now look at what happened after him. In the 15 years since, other teams have tried what Red Bull tried. Mercedes had Hamilton and Rosberg. Ferrari had Leclerc and Sainz. McLaren had Norris and Piastri. Every single one of them ended the same way. One number 1. One number 2. Or a divorce. So who really failed here? It was not Vettel. He drove the way a system had trained him to drive. It was not Webber. He raced with what he was given, right until the last lap. It was not Red Bull. They tried something the sport had not seen in years, and it collapsed under the weight of a single trophy. What failed was the idea itself. The idea that fairness could survive Formula One. Formula One made equal treatment impossible. Red Bull only proved it faster than anyone else.